This is CBC Here and Now.
She was just such a genuine person. Like, she always put everybody else before herself. She wanted to make sure everybody was so happy.
Bree was the happiest I've seen her when she was with Brendan.
Remembering a young couple tragically killed in a car accident, friends hold a car show in honor of Brendan McLean and Bree Horn.
It's also impacting the sale of that product from the local firm.
The manufacturers are also waiting on their suppliers to build the parts to send to the plants.
The economy slowly reopens, but that doesn't mean it's any easier to get supplies. The ripple effect of the global supply chain felt here at home.
The Telly 10 might be canceled, but there's no slowing down Florence Barron. We'll talk about the Telly coming up on Here and Now.
What do I wish I was running through those sprinklers today? There's plenty more heat to come.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan. A young couple killed in a tragic car crash 2 weeks ago are being remembered by friends and family. 3 people died in the head-on collision on the Trans-Canada Highway near Appleton in late July. A woman from Lewisport was among the victims. And this couple, Brendan McLean and Brianna Horn, also died. Their friends and family gathered at the Steele Community Centre in Gander for a celebration they say the couple would have loved. Here Now's Garrett Berry put together this look at the event.
Even before he was old enough to have his license, it was cars. And then when he got his first Honda Civic, he was like just over the moon. And like, he loved it. Like, just everything about cars. He was so like knowledgeable and like, he just loved everything about them.
I met Brendan through cars a long time ago. When I lived in Alberta, I had some Subarus that he thought were cool, and he added me as a friend on Facebook, and we started talking, and when I moved out here to Gander, he came to pick me up, and we became best friends from there. It was a surprise. Like, I didn't really expect all this, honestly. I just really thought that a couple of my friends were going to get together and meet up with us here, and the amount of people who joined the group and who are showing up to show their support, it's unbelievable.
Brendan would talk to anyone and he left with a friend. Like, he had that touch on everyone, and he would talk to anyone. He'd go up to anyone and just spark up a conversation with them. So like, he knew a lot of people, that's for sure. Ever since we were born, like, it wasn't like a typical brother and sister relationship. Like, we never argued once. Like, we were best friends. We hung out all the time. Like, if I needed anyone, he was always there, and it was, you know, the same. Like, it's always been Brendan and Paige, you know? And now that it's just me in the present, it's like, you know, what do I do? Like, you know, the better part of me is missing. And it's like, you know, what do I do with myself? But, you know, I gotta carry on like he would, you know, for him. She'd be embarrassed that so many people are here. Her face yeah, she would not be happy that her face is on a hoodie, but no, she was one of my best friends. She was a great person. It is really hard. It's still hard to believe that she's not here. She was just such a genuine person. Like, she always put everybody else before herself. She wanted to make sure everybody was so happy, and like, even if she wasn't, she wanted you to be happy. I don't know, I just expect her to text me or Snapchat me and ask how Ella's doing, my little girl and stuff, and just like, last thing she said to me was how proud she was of me and all this. Like, it's hard. I keep going back through pictures and messages and expecting her, like, new ones to come up, and it's hard.
I think he'd give me a big hug and say, man, this is the coolest thing you ever could have done for me. And I wish that I could tell him I loved him.
Do you think he knows?
Yeah, he does.
Well, we have another tragic car crash to tell you about tonight. A 44-year-old man from Torbay died in a single vehicle collision last night in St. John's. Police responded to Team Guju Highway around 7:30. Police Constable James Cadigan says the vehicle overturned near the Briar Avenue exit. The driver was the only person involved in the collision, and police say he died at the scene. The RNC is asking anyone who may have witnessed the crash or has dash cam footage of the area to come forward as they continue their investigation. Well, 2 people have been charged accused of lying about an accident in Indian Bay. Police in New West Valley say a 41-year-old woman from Centerville crashed her car early one morning in May. One passenger was ejected while another was trapped inside. Both had serious injuries. The woman is accused of calling someone for a ride home. She then told first responders one of the passengers was driving, not her. She and her 62-year-old alleged accomplice now face a number of charges. Well, police say 5 handguns were stolen from a home in the east end of St. John's last week. They were taken from a storage safe in the house sometime between Thursday night and Friday morning. Someone forced their way into the home through an apartment door. No one was home at the time of the robbery. Anyone with video footage from the Higgins line and surrounding areas is asked to call the RNC or Crime Stoppers. And finally, a 48-year-old man is facing a charge of attempted murder in Garnish on the Burin Peninsula. RCMP say shots were fired at a home in the community on Friday around 6:30 p.m. The man was arrested later that evening and held in custody ever since. Along with attempted murder, he's also facing a variety of gun charges, including possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose. Well, there's one new case of COVID-19 to tell you about today. It's connected to Friday's case involving a woman with ties to the Hudson and Rex TV production. The man is between the ages of 20 and 39. He's a cast member on the show. Government says he's also a close contact of the woman who tested positive. Because he is a close contact, the province says he has already been isolating. The production company says he hasn't been in contact with any of the cast or crew since he was isolating and exposed to the virus. Crews with Hudson and Rex resumed filming today in the Mundy Pond area of St. John's. A total of 144 people have been tested since yesterday. The number of active cases, just those 2 people. Well, as the economy reopens here, the effect of the pandemic on the global economy is still being felt and will likely be felt for some time to come. Getting supplies is still a problem. Here now's Andrew Hawthorne explains.
For want of a nail, the shoe was lost, as the proverb goes. While Newfoundland and Labrador gets a handle on COVID-19 within the province and businesses reopen, the impact on the supply chain is still being felt.
There are some states like Pennsylvania that's having no problems with their supply chains to Newfoundland and to Canada, but other states like California are a challenge to get product out of right now. So that's putting constraints on the supply chain, and that impacts jobs in Newfoundland and Labrador, and it impacts our GDP and our economy.
A boom in local construction and renovation, encouraged by the residential construction rebate, is creating demand for supplies like aluminum, timber, and windows. But in other parts of the world where the pandemic has kept production shut down, those materials are not being produced. And snags in supply due to COVID are not unique to construction. At Hickman Chevrolet, vehicle sales have rebounded since the shutdown, but not quite so much the availability of vehicles to sell.
The product will start to roll again, but what you have to remember is the manufacturers are also waiting on their suppliers to build the parts to send to the plants. So everything went to a stop and is slowly to start again.
As businesses look for new sources of supplies and innovative solutions to keep afloat, still the specter of the virus hangs over each decision.
The real danger is if an economy opens up and opens up too quickly without having the protocols in place, and they have to pull back because of an outbreak of COVID. That's more damaging to an economy than if we opened at the appropriate speed.
After surviving a tough winter and the pandemic, even as they reopen, businesses must now weather demand without ready supply and hope the customers continue to be there until such time when there are enough nails to go around.
That's really the supply chain needs to be kept going, not so much from the manufacturer, but we need people to go to our restaurants and our corner stores to employ people who then in turn spend money elsewhere, which in turn come to buy cars. So it starts at grassroots, and that's the supply chain that's most important right now, is buying local.
Andrew Hawthorne, CBC News, St. John's.
Premier Dwight Ball says he may leave as an MHA before the next election. Ball had said he'd stay on as an MHA even after his tenure as Premier is over next week, at least until the next election. In my sit-down interview with him, he says the new Premier needs to get a seat, and if Andrew Furey wants to represent Humber Gross Mourne, he'd step down, allowing him to run in a by-election.
I think the people of our province, they want to see our legislators into our decision makers into legislature. So my advice would be to get a seat, and I would have a discussion with my constituents. If Angie Furey wanted to step into my seat into the by-election, yeah, obviously I would do that for the leader of this province. I would absolutely do that. Why wouldn't I? But first of all, I need to speak to my constituents.
Now that's just one of many topics I covered with the outgoing Premier. Hear our conversation about why his relationship with Quebec was so important and what his life after politics might look like. That's coming up a little later on tonight's Here and Now. The Newfoundland and Labrador Teachers Association is petitioning for smaller class sizes in the wake of the pandemic. Many parents worry about what their children will face when they're back in school. And as Here and Now's Heather Gillis reports, right now they have more questions than answers.
More than 7,700 people have signed the Newfoundland and Labrador Teachers Association petition calling for smaller classes in September.
Getting a sign-up rate of over 100 per hour.
President Dean Ingram says smaller classes will help with physical distancing, reducing the spread of COVID-19.
There needs to be serious consideration about how do you reduce the numbers of students in those rooms to have some semblance of safety for students. We see the plan that came out early July. Physical distancing was de-emphasized. Utilization of masks and other protections were de-emphasized.
Masks will be mandatory in Quebec this fall on school buses and hallways and common areas for students grade 5 and up, as well as adults. Meanwhile, Ingram's been doing some homework of his own. In order to observe physical distancing and have 2 meters between each person, a classroom with 25 students would need to be more than 2,800 square feet, or 53 feet by 53 feet, something he says isn't realistic.
Is that feasible? Is that doable? I think at this late juncture, it's going to be very challenging to implement those physical distancing measures.
I'm horrified.
Melissa Skiffington is mom to 8-year-old twins Ava and Ella who have asthma. She also wants smaller class sizes.
In a small classroom with 26 kids, there's not enough room to stay apart. There's not enough room to do anything, really.
Skiffington has many questions about next month. How will the twins eat lunch at their Musgravetown Elementary School? How will classrooms be cleaned, and will there be more support for teachers?
What if a student gets symptoms? What happens then? Do the full class stay home for 14 days? Do we isolate as a family for 14 days?
She's so worried she's even considered homeschooling the twins.
I have to make the decision between sending them somewhere where they could contract a disease that could possibly, kill them, or keeping them home.
While there are still few details for teachers and parents, the Newfoundland and Labrador English School District says it's developing plans for the province's 250 schools for September. They say more information will be released in the coming days, and Dean Ingram says he's looking forward to seeing the plans. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
This year's Telly 10 is officially canceled. Organizers had hoped to run the race in November, but today they decided to pull the race and go virtual. Here Now's Katie Breen reports.
It's the most popular finish line in the province. Thousands cross it every year, from bucket list runners to record breakers, like 82-year-old Florence Barron. She says the Telly is a summertime staple for the running community. People train hard for it, and the race day energy is unmatched.
So many people come out to cheer people on. A lot of people come to run that race from the States, from everywhere, and it is a big event here,
Barron is a big deal. She's broken all kinds of running records. 2 years ago, she blew past the over 80 Telly 10 record, taking more than 45 minutes off the previous time.
I'm glad I was able to do it in close to the time that I thought I might.
This year, she says, running's different. She's still getting her daily jog in, but there's no bib on her shirt or record to chase. COVID is canceling running races like a lot of other crowded events. The standard Telly start line won't be a thing this year. Organizers instead are going virtual. Runners will pick their own route and their own race day. There's even different race lengths to choose from. Barron's signing up, but she says it's not going to be the same.
I won't get first place. Yeah.
And you'll miss that part of it.
Probably, but I don't mind. I don't mind. I just feel good. I feel well. I feel healthy. And I feel running is the thing I love to do. And you get that beautiful feeling after, Just makes you feel so good.
Of course, she's not letting a lack of races slow her down. She says people tell her all the time they run the telly to try and beat her time. So she's staying in shape. And if health measures lift to allow a telly in 2021, you'll catch her there. If you can.
As long as I stay well, I have no aches, no pains. As long as I stay well like this, I will continue to keep running, yeah.
Katie Breen, CBC News, St. John's.
Just ahead, we're going to need a bigger boat. These people weren't the only ones fishing for cod this weekend. Stay with us.
Heat the story today across most of the province. This heat's going to stick around. Those heat warnings have been extended to include the Avalon really through Wednesday and Thursday. And then we do have a little bit more unsettled weather heading as we head towards the weekend. I'll have all those details in your full forecast coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. This year, it's Stay Home Year, the year to rediscover home.
Ashley, I'm guessing that you are going to find a lot of creative ways to describe hot over the next couple of days. It's rare that we have a heat warning here in St. John's. I, for one, am happy that it's finally feeling like hot, hot summer, but you're the one who's out there.
Yeah, lots of people are very happy that we've been seeing these temperatures. You know, a lot of people actually pointed out that apparently after Regatta Day that the summer is over, but since there was no Regatta Day this year, maybe summer will continue, so that's good news. But yes, it's been hot today right across the board. Let's take a look at those daytime highs in the high 20s. 27 degrees was the afternoon high in St. John's, 30 in Terra Nova. And then we're seeing temperatures around 29 degrees for Corner Brook, and then that heat up through Lab City as well and into Happy Valley Goose Bay into the high 20s this afternoon. Current temperatures have dropped a little bit for Gander, and that's because a thunderstorm rolled through, dropped that temperature about 6 degrees in less than an hour. And otherwise temperatures are still sitting in those warm 28, 29, 30 degrees. And the humidex, you know, only feeling 2 or 3 degrees more than what it actually is out there. And we're going to see this heat and humidity continue. As Peter mentioned, we do have heat warnings in place from the west coast through to central and now extended all the way to the northern Avalon, including here in the metro area. And then we have some heat warnings for Happy Valley Goose Bay as well. And this will generally continue through Thursday, although midweek we should start to see some other areas drop off as well. There's that lightning I was talking about heading through the central tonight, or this earlier this afternoon. Those should end in the next little bit, and just some lingering showers expected in behind that, as you can see on the satellite there. And then some fog and some cloud cover moving in along the south coast. That will generally continue overnight tonight. Could possibly even see some drizzle for the Burin and southern Avalon as well. Overall, though, going to be a quiet, beautiful evening, with the winds staying generally light in the west and then breezy, about 15-20 kilometers per hour in the east. But overall temperatures will be anywhere from 15 to 17 degrees overnight, and 21 degrees for Happy Valley Goose Bay as your overnight low. And then tomorrow, that fog and cloud cover should end or taper off in the morning, and we could see the potential for a few pop-up showers tomorrow afternoon for the west and central, but overall plenty of sunshine. And then note, a line of thunderstorms looks like it'll develop for Lab West towards the interior tomorrow, so something to keep an eye on. Otherwise, some more shower activity will more than likely move in overnight along the west coast and the south as well. Temperatures will be staying mild again, hence that heat warning. So high 20s for the majority of eastern Newfoundland, and then you get into the 30 and 31 degree mark as you head towards central and the west coast, with those winds staying breezy, 20 to 40 kilometers per hour out of the southwest. And then heat for the coast as well. So Nain, you could potentially even break a record for tomorrow, as the forecast is 30 degrees, and those winds will stay a little bit brisk, so 30 to as much as 50 kilometers per hour again out of the southwest, and then that risk of thunderstorms for the interior. And then things start to get a little bit unsettled. So through Wednesday, the potential for some showers for the west, and then into Thursday, there's a pretty good chance we could see some thunderstorms developing across the island, from Labrador and then through the island as well into the afternoon. They could be strong, some indications pointing at that. It is still a little bit early, but that risk is there nonetheless. But overall, those temperatures are going to stay warm again right through Wednesday, 20, 29, 30 degrees, and then temperatures dropping for Nain. So you're going to see one day of that heat and then back down to a little bit even above normal. You should be sitting around 17 degrees this time of year. And then by Thursday, we'll see even more of a drop in temperatures up through Labrador. That's when things become a little bit more unsettled as well, but hanging on to the heat for the island. By Friday and Saturday, we'll start to see a drop, certainly by Saturday rather, we'll see a drop in temperatures for both St. John's and eastern Newfoundland, down to 16 degrees, but before that, plenty of heat. And then for central Newfoundland as well, into the low 20s, so it'll be nice to, and then look at the overnight lows though, Saturday night. Dipping down, it looks like at this point to the single digits, which I guess is good if you want to clear the house out of this heat and humidity. For eastern Labrador, you're looking at unsettled pretty much through Friday. By Saturday at this point, it's looking like we'll see some sunshine, and then same thing for Lab West. Now, I'm sure lots of us were trying to figure out ways to beat the heat today, and Northern Bay Sands looks like a pretty great place to do that. Thank you to Eugene for sending us this lovely shot. If you have any weather photos to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
If you're not normally a swimmer, this weather will turn you into one. Thanks, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Some incredible video to share with you right now. Alex Batten was out fishing near Bacaloo Tickle yesterday, and she wasn't the only one after some fish. Take a look. Yeah, imagine this guy swimming up and taking your supper. Alex says this happened about 4 times. Her group lost 9 lures to sharks, so that'll tell you how many were down there in the water. The boat had headed out from Bay de Verde. Yeah, I think after the first one, I'd probably be pulling up my line and calling it a day, but that's just me. Let's take a look at what the damage was. This is what the shark left behind. I guess you're going to get a cod tongue out of that, but not much more. So, not sure it's enough for supper. Thanks to Alex for sharing that video. The big question, does that half fish still count towards your 15th boat limit? I don't know. We'll have to ask DFO about that. Well, stick with us just ahead. He's only Premier for another week. What would he have done differently? I sit down with Dwight Ball. welcome back to Here and Now. In less than 2 weeks, this won't be Dwight Ball's office anymore. Andrew Furey will be the Premier, and all those big decisions will be his. But before Dwight Ball packs up all his things and leaves, we wanted to sit down for one last interview. Premier Ball, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's great to be here in this office, and as we've spoken about many times, as I look to my left, we have a great view of the city of St. John's there, and it's the great views that we see. You would not see this in many other capital cities, but it's common in Newfoundland and Labrador.
I was here back in 2015 when you walked into this office for the first time. You told me then that the province's finances were what was keeping you up at night. How much has changed over the last few years?
You get more experience. The surprises that I had in 2015, I can assure you that Premier Designate Furey will not get a surprise like this. Everything that we've done, since 2015, we've put the financial information out there. Matter of fact, we passed law that no one else can do this in the future as well. So I think coming into this office in 2015 was a great experience for me, something that I would do again. What I didn't like was the surprises that I received, or were the surprises that I received at the time. So right now, with the experience, I sleep better at night. I know this province is in a much better position today than then.
You were handed a more than $2 billion deficit when you walked into this office. You're passing on another $2 billion deficit to the incoming Premier. Have we really gotten that much farther ahead over the last 5 years in the province's finances?
We sure have. There was no question, given what we were coming in. These were kind of times within Newfoundland and Labrador, with an administration, with the surprise of well over $2 billion deficit, looming deficit, some borrowing that needed to be done. We had a project. We didn't have a good handle on what the cost would be from the prior administration with Muscat Falls. We fixed all of that. And we were well, down the road and well on our way to get back to financial sustainability. Unfortunately, it's the pandemic, and every single jurisdiction, every single province, every single country will have to deal with this recent financial crisis that we face.
But even before the pandemic, though, the plan to get back to a balanced budget by 2022 had already been thrown out the window. It wasn't achievable even before the pandemic hit.
Well, there was a couple of things that would need to be factored into that. It didn't occur because of the pandemic. We had been down the road with a lot of discussions with the federal government on fiscal sustainability program. We knew equalization. We needed equalization, or we needed a program that reflected where Newfoundland and Labrador is today. And with the work with Alberta and Saskatchewan and the federal government, I'm confident that there would have been support for Newfoundland and Labrador in a budget in 2020 if the federal government had the opportunity to deliver that budget.
Do you think that support is still going to come?
I do. It should. It's the right thing to do. Is right now with equalization and those transfer payments, none of that reflects what this province would have to go through. So there needs to be, and should be, a fair program for a province like us to actually reflect the realities that no other province would have to deal with. So the federal government would need to step up with a similar program.
You faced a lot of criticism when you took on the role of Indigenous Affairs Minister, even though there were other Indigenous people in your caucus that you could have put into that role. What do you think you were able to accomplish in that role? And did you win over people who were kind of skeptical about having, someone who isn't from Labrador, doesn't have that experience, taking that on?
I never did feel that way. And I think when I look at what happened in last week, or a few days ago now in Labrador, there was a great reception with the Innu Nation and with the Innu population in Labrador. They've been very kind to me last Thursday. I've had great discussions with Nunatchivut government, and of course with Nunatuavut and with the Alapu, and of course with Chief Missile Joe. He's been kind of a bit of an advisor and a mentor for me throughout all of this. So it was important for me to, first and foremost, to treat our Indigenous members in our province, our Indigenous population, on a government-to-government relationship. That is the reason why I took that on. It was important. And regardless of what happens with Indigenous affairs in the future, it will always land in this office. You have a tremendous group of leaders there that they do want access to the Premier. So at some point, whatever the decision will be made in the future, the Premier will be directly involved with our Indigenous leaders, as they should.
When I talk to people I know in Labrador who are Indigenous, a lot of them are still very frustrated about the lack of progress that they see from the federal government addressing the issues that they care about. You know, we look at, for example, the apology hasn't come yet for residential schools, and I know that was an important issue for you. The inquiry into Innu kids in care, the Muskrat Falls methylmercury mitigation that didn't happen. What do you say to people who feel that this government really hasn't moved far enough on those issues that are important?
Well, I have answers for for the three things that you just mentioned. Number one, with methylmercury, we've been sharing that data in the reservoir, and if you look at that data, the science shows that there's really no significant increase in methylmercury levels. So we've got a number of those recommendations now that we continue to work with our Indigenous leaders. The pace that you work with Indigenous groups can be very different because there's a lot of engagement that would need to occur, and we're doing that. With the Innu inquiry, right now it's just simply down to getting a commissioner in place to do the inquiry. This should be done, it needs to be done, and it's something that, you know, I would have liked to have gotten started, but yet I've explained this and we've had great discussions with the Innu leadership. They understand it and they support the decision that I made. Yeah, I wish the federal government had stepped up earlier and worked a little more, worked faster with the terms of reference with us, because regardless of what the recommendations will be from that inquiry, the federal government must be involved. With Nunatchivut, it's from an apology point of view, it was actually the Nunatchivut government that made a decision unless we could get more than 50 people in the room at any particular point in time. They wanted everybody there, as they should. It's an important apology. But one thing I do know, this apology will be delivered, and I will make sure that if I'm invited, I will be there for that apology, regardless of what role I play in this province.
Well, stay with us. I've got more questions for Dwight Ball, including what his future might look like, coming up on Here and Now. Welcome back to Here and Now. I'm sitting down with the outgoing Premier, Dwight Ball, and I want to ask you about Quebec. It seems that you've managed to develop a personal relationship with Francois Legault, the Premier of Quebec. In fact, at the tributes that came in, it's not very usual that we see the Quebec Premier having so many complimentary things to say. I just want to play a little bit here of what he had to say.
I also want to thank you for your constant collaboration with Quebec. You've always been a great partner and a great friend to us. In my first 2 years as Premier, I had the pleasure to work closely with you on important issues for both our provinces and Canada. I'll always keep good memories of these years working with you.
Why was that relationship with Quebec so important to you?
They're our neighbors. It's the only province that we really share a land border with in Quebec. And I think, you know, when I look at it, it was important that I form a solid relationship with all premiers across the country, and I have. Matter of fact, I reach out to them, and I've reached out literally on a daily basis, you know, with premiers that are now friends. So in Quebec, it was no different to me. I really wanted to try and dispel some of the, you know, some of the challenges that we faced in the past with the province of Quebec. And we do share a lot in common. And so one of the things from an economic development point of view, having your neighbor, having a friendly neighbor, it's important. And so we put our focus and our priority on what the future would look like, where the benefits would be for Newfoundland and Labrador, and indeed for Quebec as well. So it's about a partnership. And added to that, you know, I've liked the premiers that I've had to deal with in Quebec as well. Francois would probably say we're both Montreal Canadiens fans as well. That helps. But it really what goes beyond just finding the benefits for both our province where we can do this on a fair basis. So, you know, I treated Quebec like any other province, and we do have a good personal relationship.
But what are you kind of trying to set up there? Is this so that something like Gull Island can happen in partnership with Quebec? Is this so that we can get a better deal in 2041? What are you hoping that that leads to?
I think there's 3 or 4 things that I would look at. It's 2041, of course, is part of this. Gull Island is part of this. The future developments anywhere on the Upper Churchill is all part of this. Mining is a big part of this. A lot of this discussion all started with mining. Transportation corridor, the benefits of the economic development through a solid new transmission corridor. Access points for our provinces is a part of this. The tunnel, the fixed link between Labrador and the island of Newfoundland is a part of this. So there's so many economic opportunities by having a solid relationship with the province of Quebec. Newfoundlanders and Labradorians would benefit from all of that. Added to that, you know, there are neighbors, and it's always nice to have a friendly neighbor so the residents that live in those bordering communities can have a real good, solid relationship.
I want to go back to that first day in office. If you were sitting down with 2015 Dwight Ball, what advice would you go back and offer yourself that might have made things a little easier?
No, every decision is not perfect, but they're decisions. And you make decisions with the information that you have at the time. So looking back in retrospect, you could say, would you do everything the same? Of course I would not. I mean, I do things that I would like to do different, maybe pace things a little more. But the challenges that I face required a decision. And as I keep telling people that are put in key positions like this, you know, you got to be able to make the decision knowing that they're not always going to be popular. If you had to take a poll on every decision that you would make, you would not make a decision on a timely basis. So yeah, there's things I would do differently. There's some pace I would probably pacing things would be a little different. But at the end of the day, we were facing a crisis that needed immediate attention, and we did that. The financial, you know, the bond rating agencies and others responded. They've kept us stable. What I used to say at the time, we came into this building, things were on fire at the time. My job was to get the fire out, to stabilize the position, stabilize the situation. We were able to do that.
In the past, we've seen the outgoing premier has sometimes stepped down in order to allow the incoming premier to be able to run in their district. Would you step aside as the MHA in your area in order to allow Andrew Furey to run there if he wants to?
I've been so fortunate to have a strong organization in the district that I represent in Hummer-Gross-Mourne. I've been their representative, and you know, of course, their interests are their priority for me. For me right now, I want what's best for this district. If it means that I continue to represent them for a while, but I do believe that an incoming premier needs a seat. To bring in a budget, to make the legislative changes, I think the people of our province, they want to see our legislators into our decision makers into legislature. So my advice would be to get a seat, and I would have a discussion with my constituents. If Angie Fury wanted to step into my seat in the by-election, yeah, obviously I would do that for the leader of this province. I would absolutely do that. Why wouldn't I? But first of all, I need to speak to my constituents.
You're only 62 years old. That's, younger than most people would retire. What does life after politics look like for you? What's on your list of things you want to do?
Well, first of all, I'm not too sure what it's like to feel like what a 60-year-old typical man should have to feel like, or typical person should have to feel like, but I feel great. Health-wise, I feel good. I enjoy life. I try and look at the bright side of every day. I'm very optimistic about our future. For me right now, I can honestly say that I really don't know what's next for me. It's a bit refreshing that not knowing what that is. It's a bit adventurous, but I'll see what comes up. I have no idea. I've made a commitment to work to my very last day to represent the people that elected me. I've made a commitment that I would work as a premier to my very last day, and I will continue to do that. We'll see what comes next. I have no plans made other than to just spend some more time with family. My granddaughter and family, of course. A lot of great friends across this province, and I look forward to spending more time with them.
Well, Premier Ball, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck in whatever that next chapter looks like.
Well, thank you, Peter. I've had this opportunity to speak with you on many occasions. Always respected where you've had to come from. So good luck to you and your staff. I look forward to seeing you in the future in some other capacity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lebanon's Prime Minister has announced his government's resignation. It comes nearly a week after the massive explosion that devastated much of Beirut and after days of angry protests. Demonstrators blame the country's ruling class for decades of widespread corruption and negligence. Lebanon's president accepted the government's resignation, but he also asked it to stay on in a caretaker role. Tuesday's explosion in Beirut's port killed at least 200 people. One of the most high-profile critics of Chinese rule in Hong Kong has been swept up in the region's new national security law. Media tycoon Jimmy Lai was taken into custody this morning during a raid by about 200 officers at his pro-democracy newspaper, Apple Daily. Lai's been a prominent critic of the Chinese Communist Party and a backer of pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. He's accused of colluding with foreign forces. Later in the day, another prominent pro-democracy activist, Agnes Chow, was also arrested, this time on charges of inciting secession. Both arrests seem to be part of a broadening enforcement of the new national security law enacted in Hong Kong. Well, 5 days after proposing to make masks mandatory in outdoor spaces in Paris, the rule came into effect today. Many are already doing so, and even some who did not are berating those who don't comply.
On est bête. On est bête, mais c'est normal. Le Français n'aime pas obéir aux ordres.
Those of us without masks are being stupid, this resident says, but he says it's also expected since the French don't like following orders. What is the order? Everyone over 11 must wear a mask in outdoor Parisian spaces, whether strolling along the banks of the Seine or browsing in open-air markets. The penalty is a $210 fine, even jail for repeat offenders. Paris's mandatory mask rule holds for 1 month. Moving to the U.S. now, where the city of Chicago is quiet today after a night of looting and violence. Police say more than 100 people were arrested and 13 officers were injured.
Just woke up to a huge explosion. That's the Nordstrom.
Looters rampaged through Chicago's upscale Magnificent Mile shopping district. Dozens of stores were vandalized. It came hours after police exchanged gunfire with a young man. Police say the unrest was sparked by misinformation about the gunman's age. Bridges over the Chicago River have been raised, and public transit has been temporarily suspended to prevent travel into the downtown core. Well, back in Canada, a close-knit community in western Manitoba is still trying to come to terms after a deadly tornado killed a couple Friday evening. The twister was packing winds of up to 190 kilometers an hour and lasted more than 10 minutes on the ground near the town of Verdun. It ripped through a farm, throwing several vehicles off the road. In one of them, Carter Tilbury and Shayna Barneski, both 18 years old. They were driving through the area when the tornado struck, about 65 kilometers away from their hometown of Milada. As Karen Pauls reports, an entire community is mourning.
We've all worked so hard to get here. Countless hours spent laughing in the hallways, procrastinating on homework, and making memories that will last a lifetime.
A speech from Shayna Barneski's high school graduation just 2 months ago. She's wearing a bright red dress, grinning for the camera with friends and her boyfriend, Carter Tilbury. He graduated last year. Now, 2 young lives have ended tragically early after their pickup truck was swept up by a tornado Friday night. RCMP say they were thrown out of the vehicle, which was found more than a kilometer from where the tornado touched down.
They were great kids, and I think that's what really hurts. They're kids from our community.
Reverend Barb Alston says there's a heavy feeling in the community. The 2 teens both had jobs here, Shayna at the local co-op grocery store, Carter at a farm equipment dealership.
We're all connected. We're connected family-wise, we're connected socially, we're connected spiritually.
Mayor Bill Holden says the tragedy is felt deeply in a small town.
We're a town of about 1,000 people, and a good portion of the town here is related to the extended families of both the victims. And my heart goes out to everyone.
One friend said they're trying to pull together and support each other because that's what Shayna and Carter would have wanted. She told me they were the kind of people who always had your back, kind through and through, and will never forget them. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Melita, Manitoba.
Well, we're going to dip into the Here and Now archives to bring you a story from the summer of 1972. That year, Happy Valley, which hadn't yet amalgamated with Goose Bay, lost most of its waterfront when it fell into the Churchill River. The town resorted to some strange measures to protect the shoreline. Here's that story from the CBC's Cam Cuthbert.
Each year for the past 20, the river has been gnawing away at the sandy soil. But heavy ice this past season cut deeply into the riverbank, so the town responded by dumping old car bodies to halt the erosion. It helped a little, but Alfred Winters still had to move his house at least 30 feet closer to the street. It looks peaceful now, but residents recall sleepless nights as the ice ground through the flimsy scrap metal and wooden pilings. Mayor Herb Brett is worried about next year and says the government must act now.
It's our opinion, our council's opinion, that this river is not a part of the town, so consequently whoever owns the river basically has got to pay for the damages that it's causing to the town.
An engineering study conducted last year recommended a concrete retaining wall or diversion of the river. Both ideas have been labeled impractical, so another study likely will be launched.
The easy answer would be to move everyone from the riverbank, but obviously it's not that simple. The people of Happy Valley are here to stay. So a political decision has to be made, and a financial commitment as well, to either stop the erosion or divert the river. Either way, action must be taken before the spring breakup next year. Cam Cathcart, CBC News, Happy Valley, Labrador.
Let's have one last check-in with Ashley, who is taking full advantage of the heat. I'm jealous you're getting to be outside on a beautiful day like this.
You have to be outside, especially as the meteorologist. If I don't enjoy the weather, what's the point? But we are looking at this heat and humidity sticking around at least through tomorrow, maybe even into Wednesday for some, or into Wednesday rather, for some areas. And the risk of some thunderstorms tomorrow for the western portion of Labrador heading towards the interior. But other than that, plenty more sunshine, maybe the chance of a few pop-up showers. Don't be surprised if you see that along the west coast and maybe towards central. But other than that, get out and enjoy the summer day.
Thanks, Ashley. I'm looking forward to when I can certainly get out of the office and take off this suit. But before I go, we do have a programming note for you. Here and Now is going to have a half-hour newscast this Friday, August the 14th, and it's going to start at a slightly different time, 7 p.m. Newfoundland time, 6:30 in most of Labrador. That's because of an NHL playoff game that's going to be on during our regular slot. And because we're going to have a shorter show, we won't be able to squeeze in all your birthdays and anniversary greetings on Friday. So instead, we're going to bring them to you a day early. You're going to get to see them on Thursday this week. So make sure you tune in Thursday night to find out who's celebrating, and make sure you get those anniversaries and birthday greetings into us early, because we're going to have them a little earlier on this week's Here and Now. And speaking of Here and Now, that is it for us for tonight. I'm Peter Cowan. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be with you all this week. Carolyn's taking a break, and of course she picked a great week with some great weather. I'm jealous. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.